Imagine a world where denying life-saving care isn't just a corporate policy, it's a death sentence. A dystopia where the cost of your next breath is measured in shareholder profits. Sound familiar? Well, congratulations, you're living it. And in this world, the death of a United Healthcare CEO, a man who profited handsomely from saying no to your life, has sparked something extraordinary. Some call it rage, others a reckoning. But let's be honest. When people celebrate your murder instead of mourning it, you know you weren't exactly beloved. Welcome to the healthcare rebellion of 2024, where Reddit threads read like manifestos and Brian Thompson's death feels ripped straight from V for Vendetta. Except this isn't fiction, and the mask isn't just a symbol anymore, it's a warning. Today we're diving deep into a story so dark even Orwell might cringe. Grab your popcorn, your pitchfork, and maybe a better insurance plan if you can afford one. Let's set the stage. Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, wasn't just a man. No, he was the embodiment of a system designed to squeeze every ounce of profit from the sick and dying. A real-life Ebenezer Scrooge, except instead of hoarding gold coins, he hoarded denied claims and executive bonuses. But then, he became a headline. Shot dead on a New York street, a man who had once wielded an algorithm like a scythe, slashing lies to meet quarterly goals, was now the victim of a much simpler tool, anger, wrapped in a bullet. And how did people react? With grief? Mourning? Oh no. The internet roared. Reddit exploded with commentary that would make the Joker himself proud. One user wrote, "It's hard to feel bad for someone who killed more people than bin Laden just with paperwork." Let that sink in. This wasn't just outrage. It was catharsis. A tidal wave of pent-up fury against a system so broken it makes dystopian fiction look optimistic. If you were expecting candlelight vigils, you clearly underestimated just how much people hate being priced out of survival. Brian Thompson's death didn't just spark a conversation. It ripped the lid off a boiling pot of anger that had been simmering for decades. And suddenly, the facade cracked. The system wasn't untouchable anymore, it was human, flawed, and apparently mortal. Section 2, the coarsening of society or just dessert. Here's the kicker. Instead of reflecting on what could drive someone to murder the head of a health insurance giant, the media decided to clutch their pearls. A terrible coarsening of society, they cried, as if we haven't been living in a dystopian hellscape for decades. Reddit wasn't having it. One user snapped back, "Terrible coarsening? How about the literal murder by spreadsheet these companies commit every day?" Another chimed in. The real coarsening is letting people die so shareholders can get their third yacht. And they're not wrong. Let's be clear, this wasn't just random violence. It was the logical outcome of a system so broken, it practically invites chaos. When corporate greed literally decides who lives and who dies, what do you expect? One commenter nailed it. This wasn't murder. It was the human equivalent of a glitch in the Matrix. The cracks are showing, and for many, Brian Thompson wasn't a victim. He was a symbol, a warning shot to the ruling class that the peasants are done asking nicely. So, is society coarsening, or is it finally waking up? Maybe the real story isn't the killing of one CEO, but the deaths of thousands who never made the headlines. After all, it's hard to feel bad for the executioner when the guillotine comes for them. Section 3, the rise of the anti-hero, when sympathy dies. Let's not kid ourselves, Brian Thompson didn't live his life as the benevolent uncle of American healthcare. No, he was the guy in the boardroom greenlighting denial algorithms and crafting policies that turned the sick into statistics. And when he got taken out, well, people didn't mourn, they cheered. One Redditor put it bluntly, "I don't wish death on anyone, but I've read some obituaries with great joy." Another added, "Maybe the next CEO will think twice before turning life and death decisions into profit margins." This wasn't just schadenfreude, it was a collective exhale of rage and relief. The man who profited from suffering became a martyr, not for his industry, but against it. For once, the narrative flipped. The villain wasn't untouchable anymore. The parallels to V for Vendetta are striking. In the movie, V is seen as a terrorist by the establishment, but becomes a hero to the masses. Here, the shooter, while no masked vigilante, represented something eerily similar. The rebellion of the powerless against an unfeeling system. One comment hit the nail on the head. When a system denies you every path to justice, don't be surprised when people take it by force. And another asked the hot-ending question. How do you expect people to react when you systematically crush every alternative? Brian Thompson's death wasn't just about one man. It was a shot across the bow of a broken system, a reminder that even the rich and powerful bleed. when they push too far. Section 4, healthcare anger, the powder keg explodes. Let's talk about the rage, the healthcare anger that's been simmering under the surface for decades. Rage that doesn't come from nowhere. It's forged in emergency rooms, hospital billing departments, and on the phone with insurance reps. It's the rage of watching loved ones die, not because there was no cure, but because there was no coverage. One Redditor summed it up with this chilling line: do people not understand history? When you push the masses until they have nothing left to lose, heads roll. Another chimed in: I'm not saying I condone it, but I can't say I'm surprised either. This isn't a new phenomenon, it's an inevitability in a system where profit comes before people. The parallels with V for Vendetta grow sharper. Remember the domino scene? Each piece represents a moment of systemic oppression falling in perfect sequence until the final explosive act. That's what happened here. Decades of denied claims, financial ruin, and lives lost, until one person finally snapped and said enough. But the real kicker, the industry's response. As one commenter noted, BCBS rolled back their anesthesia changes right after this incident. Funny how violence suddenly makes them listen. It's grotesque, isn't it? The idea that change only happens when fear reaches the boardroom. And just like in V for Vendetta, when the system starts trembling, the people start hoping. Another Reddit user nailed it. It's not about justifying violence, it's about what it represents. A system that refuses to listen until it's forced to. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was the inevitable result of a powder keg exploding. And as the smoke clears, the question isn't, why did this happen, but how did we let it get this bad? Section 5, the CEO is the new symbol of villainy. Every good story needs a villain, and in this tale of systemic injustice, the healthcare CEO fits the role like a glove. You don't have to dig deep to find the archetype, suits tailored to perfection, boardroom decisions made with an AI tool that auto-denies claims, and yachts bought with the tears of people denied life-saving treatments. One Redditor didn't mince words. A soul is a soul, we understand. But before I cry for this CEO, I'll cry for every soul he helped wrong. Another added. The coarsening of society didn't start with us. It started in boardrooms like his. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The idea that the death of one CEO, someone who profited from human suffering, became the spark for so much discourse. The reaction online wasn't grief, but grim satisfaction. People didn't see a man die. They saw a system momentarily falter. They saw a small, fleeting victory in a war they'd been losing for years. This mirrors V for Vendetta so perfectly it's eerie. Remember the Chancellor broadcasting from his omnipresent screens, demanding order? He wasn't a person by the end of the movie, he was the system itself. When V took him down, it wasn't personal, it was symbolic. Just like this incident. The CEO didn't just die as an individual. He died as a representative of a system everyone loves to hate. And the public? They're done playing nice. As one Redditor so eloquently put it, if you're an unrelenting piece of shit, people will celebrate your murder. Another said, at least lead a life that doesn't inspire cheering upon your death. This wasn't about one man's actions, it was about everything he represented. And just like in V for Vendetta, when symbols fall, people take notice. The question now is, what happens when the next domino falls? Section 6, red flags and rising flames. Remember the Chancellor's tirade in V for Vendetta, where he shouts, why won't the people obey? The answer was simple. They were tired of being crushed under the weight of lies, manipulation, and a system that didn't care if they lived or died. Sound familiar? Because here, in the reality show version of dystopia, the flames are rising. Reddit captured the mood perfectly. The elites are afraid. They know this isn't about one man, it's about the whole system. And they'll do anything to redirect the anger. Another jabbed, coarsening of society? Nah, that started the moment boardrooms decided life and death was a line item. For years, people have begged, screamed, and protested for change. But what have they gotten? Thoughts, prayers, maybe a GoFundMe link or two. The rest is silence. When the system refuses to fix itself, people start to take matters into their own hands. Is it right? Who knows? Is it inevitable? Absolutely. One commenter nailed it. This isn't about anger, it's about survival. People are dying, and when you push them to the edge, don't act surprised when they push back. Another added, with a healthy dose of irony, society didn't wake up angry one day. It was shaped into this by greed. But sure, blame the people for noticing. This parallels V for Vendetta in the most chilling way. When the people in power ignored every plea for justice, the people below them stopped asking nicely. The masks came out, the Guy Fawkes posters went up, And what started as a whisper turned into an uproar. And now, that uproar is echoing in the streets and on the internet. The sparks have turned into flames, and no amount of PR spin or pearl-clutching think pieces can put it out. Section 7, insurance executives are villains in disguise. Let's talk villains. Every good story has one. In V for Vendetta, the regime's faces of power are cold, calculating, and utterly detached from the suffering they inflict. Now swap the movie reel for reality, and you have corporate executives wealthier than small nations, making life or death decisions over your insurance claims. With all the emotional investment of someone picking toppings for their pizza. Reddit wasn't subtle about this. The healthcare system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed, to extract every ounce of profit and leave you to fend for yourself. Another hit harder, denying coverage for profit isn't just immoral, it's murder with a spreadsheet. The parallels are glaring. In the movie, we see Chancellor Sutler clinging to his power, demanding obedience while ignoring the cries of the people. Meanwhile, the real-world healthcare oligarchs are no different. A user on Reddit quipped, "They're not just out of touch, they're insulated by a wall of zeros in their bank accounts. Why care about people dying when your yacht payments are on time?" And when people push back, when someone decides to take extreme measures, they clutch their pearls and decry the terrible coarsening of society. But, as another commenter noted with biting sarcasm, maybe they should try living a life where their death would be met with applause. Just like in V for Vendetta, the villainy here isn't accidental, it's deliberate. Profits over people. The system ensures their survival no matter the cost to yours. But every villain forgets one crucial thing. Push the people far enough, and they don't stay silent. The movie had its dominoes, but here, it's Reddit threads and public outrage. The masks are off, and everyone sees the greed and rot underneath. Section 8, the turning point. When the system meets its reckoning, and here we are, the crescendo of both dystopia and reality. The breaking point. In V for Vendetta, it's the moment the people rise, wearing the iconic masks, ready to reclaim their power. In real life, it's the collective realization that the system is not just broken, but engineered to stay that way, no matter the collateral damage. Reddit has always nailed the energy. This isn't just healthcare anger. It's hate, rage, and sorrow, expressed in the only language these people understand. Another user cut even deeper. The insurance execs thought they could play God. Well, the people just handed them their divine retribution. This isn't a celebration of violence, it's an indictment of a system that has left people no other way to be heard. As one commenter put it, they've been murdering us with fine print and denial letters for decades. Did they think we'd just accept it forever? The real turning point isn't one man's act of defiance. It's the millions of voices rising together to say enough. In V for Vendetta, the crowd doesn't need to shout. Their silence is deafening, their presence unstoppable. In our world, that silence has been broken. It's Reddit threads, social media posts, conversations over dinner tables, and the undeniable truth that people will no longer bow to the unchecked greed of those at the top. Another user summed it up with brutal clarity. You can only back the masses into a corner for so long before the guillotine starts looking like a viable solution. And maybe, just maybe, the insurance giants are finally feeling the heat. They've been untouchable for so long, but the narrative is shifting. Their decisions are being questioned, their actions scrutinized, and their power, dare we say it, challenged. This isn't just a turning point for healthcare. It's a reckoning for every system built on exploitation. And like the dominoes in V for Vendetta, one push can set the whole thing crashing down.